everyone say happy birthday, Angie. All right, good morning, everyone. 48 minutes after the hour. Welcome to Storm Talk on this Tuesday, as we are still enjoying some quiet weather here in the Wave Country, but obviously we've got some issues coming into play for the upcoming weekend. It's going to become active, whether it's strong to severe or not. It is going to be an active setup for the weekend. So if you have any outdoor plans, it's a forecast you need to pay attention to. And I think it will be kicking off a series of active events as we continue on through October. All right. So as everyone slowly works their way in here today. So usually the notifications go out, everyone kind of runs in, but I try to always give everyone just a moment to get those notifications and get in, so I don't have to repeat myself too much, because I don't want anybody to miss anything. But also for those of you that were the early birds, I don't want to bore you as well. So just hang tight here for a second. Carrie, hello. You were first today. And again, I'm assuming on your YouTube, right, you get the slate that comes up when I create it that says I'm going to be live. That's how you're getting notified. I need to have my YouTube up and watch that, I guess. But I don't pay attention to it very often. It's your daughter's birthday as well. Well, happy birthday, Shonda's daughter. And it's Angie's birthday. Where's Angie at? Angie, where are you? I saw you here somewhere. Let's see. Let me go back. There you are. The blog, coffee, go to Lux Weather, and a great way to start my birthday. Happy birthday, Angie. Everyone, hopefully said happy birthday to her. If not, you better do so now. Good morning to Ann as well. Hello to Ricky, sorry. Is it true that they're comparing this winter to I don't know what they're comparing it to? No two winters are alike, in my opinion. They can be... they have similar moments, but they all have their own personality to them, which is what I love about winter, is that it's fun like that. It's a game to begin with, and it's, really a lot of this in snow forecasting in advance is entertainment, to be honest. But having said that, that was my tagline for years. But we've actually gotten a decent amount of data over the past even 5 years to allow us to see even a year out in advance, which is pretty remarkable. And some of that, it's very vague on weather patterns, but when you look at it in the climate sense, you do see the end result of some of those forecasts. So it's getting a little interesting. We're getting, technology is getting better. We're learning more about the patterns. Again, oceans are absolutely the driver. Especially the Pacific is our beast of our forecast, is the Pacific, not so much the Atlantic. So that is a key player on weather. And if the ocean is a little out of whack, then downstream, the winter will have the same type of impact. So anyway, I'm getting in the weeds. We'll discuss all this, I promise, coming up when we get to the winter forecast, which will be coming up on Halloween night. Okay, so Kelly, have you seen a lot of posts? You have seen a lot of posts saying that Saturday is going to be an outbreak. I don't know if I would go that far. I don't know how you would go that far yet, because we don't know the fuel entirely, the Cape. That takes until usually 24 hours to even get a hint of it. Wind energy wise, the wind energy is actually stronger over us at night than it will be when the storms are firing in Missouri. So there are things that are a little lopsided with the system that are not completely lined up. So that's good. To me, that would prevent a bigger scenario on severe, but it doesn't mean we're not going to likely escape at least some damaging wind potential, especially. So I'll dive into that in a second. Let's cover the short term as always. Just get that out of the way so that anyone has plans, they want to head outside and you want Sneeze, go for it. Everyone's getting sick lately, right? Recent temperatures. All right, this is nice. I mean, normal highs in the lower 70s. We're doing fine. We even hit 80 in nearly 10 days. Remember, it was hard to get out of the 90s. We were counting how long could we stay away from the 90s. Now it's the 80s. Could we touch 80 in the near term? Saturday would have the better chance just because it's ahead of a stronger system, but Saturday doesn't look like beautiful sunshine either. It looks like clouds will rapidly be filling in and blowing off with thunderstorms from areas to the southwest. So that cloud canopy may be a bit of a challenge. We'll see how thin it is. If it's thin enough, yeah, we could hit 80 or higher, like an 82, something like that on Saturday. That's possible. We'll work on that. That's a minor issue compared to everything else we got to track right now, right? But you can see that we've been very pleasant here in Ohio Valley. What a nice setup. 58 now. We got 60 down to Bardstown, 57 as you head off to the south into Lebanon, Kentucky, and 61 into Mufferville, not far from Horse Cave. Okay, what I'm going to do here today, a little backwards. All right, I'm going to go straight into the futurecast to get you through the next 36 hours. And if that's all you need to know, I'm going to help you out, and then you can be on your way. If you want to stick around to hear more about the weekend, I will cover that. And then there's something else I think I wanted to do at the end of the blog. I forgot what it was now. Maybe you will remind me. I forget it right now. All right, here's short term. We got mid-70s today. Quiet tonight. Tomorrow, the front begins to dip down. Again, it's the same front that was to our west yesterday, kind of tilted over us. Now it's going to try to drop down. The only impact is going to be some clouds and a temperature drop, a slight one, as we head into Thursday. And this would include overnight lows, too, on Thursday, dropping down into the 40s in many spots. So kind of an up and down forecast without much in the way of a change in weather, if you will. It's just temperatures are going to change just a little bit. And Friday, if I were to extend this out, the model ends here, but Friday will be the back up again, warming back up in the 70s. And Friday looks to be good. If you have any plans to go do some haunted houses or dinner outside, fire pit, anything like that, Friday is more your day than Saturday will be to plan for that if you want to avoid any issues. Okay, here's a look live from the visible satellites and the radar. Hard to see, though, those interstates over. So let me back up a little. Still got they were twin coastal lows, if you will. They're kind of merging into one. They're off East Coast, the nor'easter, still giving them rain and wind, not as wild as it was yesterday, starting to opening up a little bit larger in size, so that's a sign of a weaker field. But stuck, we talked about this stuck pattern for the Atlantic. It's just like, well, I don't know where to go. So we're waiting as well, and as Angie says, Goldilocks land. But we do have a system coming in that's going to drive the front through here. And how this is all going to arrange, let me get rid of the satellites and let's go to a little bit of a wider version. It's a 1-2 punch kind of a deal. Or you're going to have a low pressure. It's going to be moving across the northern Rockies into the plains and the Great Lakes with a cold front that'll be draped down, if I can draw it, draped down along it. Now, typically when the triple point or the cold front meeting up with the warm front scenario, the warm sector, if you will, near the low pressure is where you need to watch for severe weather, especially anything on supercells or anything bigger like that. But that's way up north. So the majority of this system as it approaches, this will be more so Friday into Saturday morning. This is how it'll look. I'll be draping in. But here's the problem. Another piece is going to roll right in behind it, drop down to the Rockies, attach itself right about here to this section of the front. And therefore, as we head into your Saturday, we still have the boundary, but we're going to have the low up here to the north, a low to the north, and then a low pressure right along it near us. This is what has changed from yesterday, is that we're getting this secondary low forming. Tends to happen when you have these fronts that are really long and stretched out, and they begin to tilt a little bit. Low pressure just naturally will spin up and form. And the weak point of that, and that certainly looks to be right at the base of where the trough is. So that would be us or Missouri. Now, because of that, that will kick up our wind energy into Saturday night. And yes, when it does form, that could enhance perhaps some of the severe potential a little more in Missouri and Illinois and far west Kentucky. They will both then do the dumbbell effect and kind of bounce around a bit into Sunday and Monday before finally heading on out. And then we have another system that'll race rapidly across the country right behind it, as well. They'll be tracking, but more on that in the coming days. So it's still a complex setup because you have the one front being pushed in by the low that goes to the Great Lakes. And we're all betting on the weekend setup featuring the secondary low. Now, say what happens if that secondary low doesn't form, which is unlikely. I think it will. But say if it doesn't, what will happen? You would still get a line of thunderstorms, but it would be just that, a very narrow line of thunderstorms. They'll be just gently, they'll probably move in fast to West Kentucky, then fading out slowly as they move across Kentucky. And that's your show. That's it. If we get a low pressure to form, which I do believe is the case, then you're dealing with a bit of a warm sector. You're going to deal with a few cells, maybe some supercells in West Kentucky that will create broken areas of thunderstorms, maybe broken lines of thunderstorms, which gets much more complex, but it is the most common form of severe weather we have in the Ohio Valley, especially in the cool season, are these embedded lines of high wind. And sometimes you can get a spin-up tornado within that as well, happening in the middle of the night. It's the low-level jet that cranks up Saturday night that has me a little concerned on that it will keep that threat going a bit more to the east than what the Storm Prediction Center has. And anyway, I'll show you that on the severe maps here in a second, but at least want to give you the overview of how we're going to get there. How do we get to this point between now and the weekend? And that's the general storyline. So let's start with futurecast. All right, first off, is everyone good for everything I've said so far? 3 times 7 if you're good. Type 3 times 7, 3 times 7 if you're good. Ricky, Adam has got me excited about snow. All right, Adam's always getting everyone excited. Let's see. Yeah, Adam's all talking about 3 times 7, 3 times 7. All right. Everyone's good. Thank y'all. All right, I just wanted to give you an overview. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. Let's do that by showing futurecast, which will get us automatically to the point where the low is formed in the low. And this is Saturday afternoon. Now, Saturday daytime, as I mentioned, the clouds will be increasing. But for right now, there's only one model that will give you thunderstorms before sunset. And that appears to be the GFS. This is the Euro you're looking at. GFS tends to go a little fast on this scenario. So we're still leaning toward the slower Euro idea. But that's the only model that would impact daytime plans on Saturday is the GFS. Can't fully discount it, but that's right now becoming an outliner. Majority of the modeling is more of a late night type of issue. So this is a snapshot at 10 p.m. Saturday. At this point, we should have a mix of lines and supercells likely going across Missouri. If this is truly the case of where we end up with the low, as you'll see, the Storm Prediction Center outlook of the severe risk way up here is probably going to be too far north. They may have to draw it a little closer to I-64 and point south. This may end up being the case, at least for the slight risk, and then maybe a marginal north of that. If I had to guess, it depends on where this low ends up forming, but that's the way it's looking on paper. Okay, so then it moves in, and this is where it gets a little wicked and frustrating because it's not going to be with a low involved now. You're not going to get one solid line. You're going to end up with cells that form into a line closer to the low itself being pulled with the low. Then you're going to have another line that's separate from it that will have Boeing segments on it that will likely be pushing out in different speeds rapidly across central and southern Kentucky into central Tennessee with a straight line wind threat overall. So there'll be multiple things happening, but it's important to note that while this is happening, all of it is weakening, but it all kind of just spreads out. You get more of your cells going to Indiana, and then you get your lines and Boeing segments that are weakening and fading out across Kentucky and Tennessee. Storm Prediction Center's got a challenge because they got to figure out, okay, their outlook's technically go until 7 o'clock in the morning. So if there is still a continued severe threat, then they'll have to move the slight risk up to, say, I-65, which honestly I think is fair because especially when storms cold pull or they bow out, they can tend to hold on to damaging winds longer than what a lot of modeling says. But, on the operation table right now, this is the way it's looking. What I'm missing is the amount of fuel that we're going to have. Timing is key on this, and just how warm are we going to get, as well as dew point. Dew points right now are coming in about 64 to 65. That's enough for the cool season. So there's some ingredients that are all there, some a little lopsided, but as I mentioned, the low-level jet at this point in Saturday night is the strongest right over Kentucky. So that should really enhance these thunderstorms and not only the wind potential, but very heavy rainfall. I'm thinking right now maybe a widespread 1 inch. There's some hints of 2 inches that could fall, but it is going to be potentially a soaker as it moves on by. After it does move on by, then we've got to pay attention to a second piece, almost like a clipper, that wraps around the low and dives down across Illinois and tucks under it. Now, where that goes is going to be a key component because Sunday afternoon, there is a chance that if the front hasn't completely cleared, I mean, these thunderstorms are going to be way ahead of the front. Okay, so the front has not completely cleared. The actual blue triangle line that you normally would think you would see in the sky when you looked above, but it's on TV. Then there is a chance new development of storms could fire on that Sunday afternoon, right ahead of that little vort that pushes down. And for the rest of us, it also would be a path of strong general wind. Even with the sun coming back out potentially, it would be quite windy, close to advisory level, in fact. So there's a lot of multiple issues here at play. We don't have the alert day into Sunday afternoon right now. If we see a trend where the wind is going to stay strong, even if it goes partly sunny Sunday afternoon, we may extend it a little further out. We'll work on that. That's why we've got it right now crossing both days, just as an FYI of how we're split on timing. But it's going to be a fairly dynamic system. Nothing record-breaking, no wild stuff here. This is not a major outbreak of severe weather. It's just something we have not been dealing with for quite some time. So we're going to have to, get the oil out and get rid of the rest and get used to this again for at least the upcoming weekend. Sean, you're right. With the threat last night, you're right. And remember, while we're going to have some action to the west of us, everything that's coming toward us will be in a weakening trend. But how fast does it weaken? Because the forward push coming in is going to be pretty strong. So it may carry them longer. It's the same concept I always say as you're running down the hill and you see like a creek at the bottom of the hill, but you're trying to slow down your run before you get into the creek. It's the same idea. It takes you a little bit of time to slow down, especially if it's a rocky hill. You're kind of like putting your feet down, like, whoa, 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 whoa. It's the same with these thunderstorms. They're trying to put the brakes on, but it's just not easy to do. The momentum wins out. Okay. So there you go. That's the main system that we're watching for Saturday and Sunday. Again, we may get lucky and a good chunk of the daytime Saturday, fine. No problems. Warm, almost summer-like. But we get into Saturday night, and I would say at least through noon on Sunday, it will be active. Now, that is typically a time that not a lot is happening, at least this time around this weekend. I know your plans may be different, but we should start to see some improvements into Sunday. All right, here's the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. They've got it up to about Evansville. They didn't change it a whole lot. And again, I think there will likely be some adjustments on that, maybe a little more south and a tad more east. I don't know if it needs to go this far west yet. It depends on how fast the low forms. But either way, I think this is likely just a slight risk type of deal. And then you'll have your marginal risk that will certainly go much further north and east. The marginal will. And probably the Sunday outlook will be, I would say the Sunday outlook could be a slight that's like this with a marginal elsewhere, just to account for the afternoon storms on Sunday. That's possible. Right ahead of that streak that wraps around there. So, but I don't draw those maps. I drew them, but that's Storm Prediction Center. Here's what it looks like from all the different modeling. Let me switch this over. This is, I know it's like, what is all this? This is going to be, let's see, Saturday. This is Thursday, top row. Here is Friday, no issues. Here's Saturday. Here's SIPS analogs. They keep most of the severe weather to the west of us, Missouri, and fading out into West Kentucky. CSU, Colorado State's learning module, they spread it, still a low-end risk overall, but all the way up through Indiana. So it's basically the whole entire warm sector and track of the low. And then you saw the Storm Prediction Center outlook, which again is in the bottom right. Any questions on that I can try to answer before I move on? I will say, looking at the wind, tilted on this. There are pockets of wind that can be tapped into. This is more of the Sunday wind, general wind that I'm talking about. It does drop below enough for those strong wind gusts on Sunday, so we'll need to watch that. And look at that. Our next system may be a windy one as well. I'm not seeing a ton of rain with it, but it may be a windy system just a few days later that will usher in some chilly air that is showing up right behind that. We'll talk more about that in a couple of days here. Okay, any questions? I could say either way, Shunda, we are in the marginal. I think a marginal is likely. Yeah, Shunda, I think it's totally fair. A slight, I don't know yet. I think we need to get more data on fuel and dew points and timing before we can get into that. So I'm just giving you where we stand today. The data could roll in today and the low just disappears, doesn't want to develop it. It'd be a little odd. I think the low will form, but that would change the storyline too. Homecoming, Adam, 3:30. You should be okay. 3:30 is a decent time. It'll be active just to your west, but by the end of the game, you should have storms in Illinois getting a little close to the Wabash there. So pay attention. Pay attention. Let's see, Carrie, I saw your question. We can talk about that. We can get that onto question 9 if you don't mind. Only because I just don't want to get into the weeds. Too in the weeds on it, on that one. What is the tornado potential? Everyone's going to ask that a lot. I know, Bradley, I see your comment. The wind potential the tornado potential is not overly high. It's higher in Missouri and Illinois when they're individual cells, but it's a low end threat for the rest of us there. Pretty low end threat. Ben, what kind of wind speeds are we looking at potentially? Well, with the thunderstorms, you can easily get up to 60 miles per hour when these storms are cold pulling out or have Boeing segments, and this will be late Saturday night. And I can't give you guys a specific time, but it's going to be at night, and it could very well be after midnight before we have to deal with this. But either way, strong push of wind then, but the wind gust on Sunday will be a little more of a 30 to 40 miles per hour range, maybe a tad higher, especially if the sun can come out. But I'm thinking right now about 30 to 40. So fairly breezy. If you have inflatables for Halloween out in the yard, pay attention to the forecast. Okay, is there anything else I was going to show you guys? Oh, yeah. I was going to show you the matrix. So here it is. This is the latest outlook for the Euro ensembles on snowfall. And I try to draw the lines. The line here in the middle is the 1st of November. So you see there's no potential, and this is just the Euro, but the Euro does a good job of sniffing these out. I want you to look at this, though, as more of an issue of, getting colder, right? Don't pay attention to the snowfall amounts or anything. But if you start seeing a higher snow signal, that just tells you you're getting into a wintry pattern, right? So that's what I'm looking for here, to be clear. So you got November 1st, quiet. You get into that November 7th to 11th window. There's some systems coming through that has some potential. It gets cold enough. And then there's a second one that is showing up around the 20th or so of November as well, which again is a little closer to Thanksgiving. So we'll see how the signal holds. It'll update again later this week, but November continues to have a look of a colder look and maybe some snow, but I don't really see that right now for October. October, we're going to have warm spells coming our way, but we're going to remain active. We got more low pressures coming in. So while it may be a warmer pattern for the plains and much of the central United States, I'm a little suspect that it's going to be that way here. I think it's going to remain active here. And I think that's going to be an issue. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. Here's the 10-day. Again, nice and warm the next couple of days. There we go with the weekend set up for the alert day that is out. And that's gusty winds. And then probably windy again for Wednesday and with some showers on Thursday. We'll see how that plays out with that second little wind flash there. All right. Bradley, what's the biggest threat this weekend? Really heavy rain more than anything. Will be heavy rain and lightning. Wind will be next. And then isolated tornado last. All right, Bradley. Let's see. Hey, Todd. Chili cook-off Saturday afternoon. So far, so good. Yeah. Just pay attention to our forecast this week in case the GFS, hey, maybe the GFS is trying to, score a coup here, and it's trying to show off and it ends up being right. Then that will change the narrative. But right now, it's the faster of all of them. We're going with the slower idea for the moment. So I don't see any reason to change your plans yet, but we'll update you every single day. Straight line winds, yeah, more than anything. Typically this time of year, especially in cool seasons, you get, and the storms do elevate too during the overnight. So that's another challenge we have as meteorologists, because the wind could still be strong above our head, but does it make it to the tree line? Do you actually feel it? at the ground level. That is always a challenge in nighttime wind events. So too early to work on that aspect. That's possible. Chuck, snow in November, not likely. He's not excited. But he's never excited. I'm pulling for you, Chuck, though. I got faith in you. When is the season changer front coming? Honestly, this weekend is pretty close to a season changer. I mean, I just think we're not going to see a lot of warm surges after this. We're going to start getting knocked down every few days, and perhaps every weekend. We're going to keep taking a step downward. So this is likely it. I think as far as wiping out the long stretches of dry, sunny, warm weather around 80 degrees on a daily basis, this is probably going to be the one to change that. Will be this weekend. All right, guys, I have to run. I've been yakking for way too long. I appreciate you all. Have a good rest of the day, and I will see you guys coming up on midday at 11 a.m. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.